Goodbye. Okay. And then Regina said, I learned about defy and being disagreeable. Yes. And what I learned today is that I am ChatGPT-able, and it is neuroscience based. That is the biggest. Y'all don't even understand. I know I'm not. You can't. My facial expression cannot express because of my high cheekbones. But I am so happy and so excited. And to use one of my mother's terms, you can't hit me in the ass with a red apple. And that's actually, if you research it, because that's one of the dailies, not to that level, but where that came from and it originated. Yes, I am floating high. I am in the galaxy with this. You cannot imagine when you are working on something and then it puts it together. I've asked Chat a lot, but today I said, let me see if because I've been saying we're wiring our brains. I've been saying that, and it's actually true. Nola said, I learned about myself that I got to take time to take care of myself. Yes. And I learned it's good to be disagreeable to bullshit. Yes, ma'am. That is correct. And then Regina about yourself, Lola about yourself, and then we're going to go. So I'm super excited because I felt it. It is when you feel something, but you can't see it, but you know that it's there, sort of like gravity. And then it shows up and it all comes together. I learned that being a leader is a mindset and that I'm a leader. Exactly. Yes, ma'am. You are. And that it is fear. And I know people always quote Machiavelli, it's better to rule by fear than love. But that's not what Machiavelli said. He said it's better to have fear and love. But if you must choose fear over love. That is the actual, because I read the book. That's what's actually happening. But everybody says it's better to rule by fear than love. That's not what he actually said. Machiavelli, the Prince, the book. That's not what took place. And so, again, treating people with dignity and respect and choosing clarity over confusion and choosing leadership, real leadership over control. The goal is not to control anybody at all. That's not real leadership. And I was confused about that way back in the mid 80s, late 80s in ROTC because I thought it was Yale Command and all of that. But it's not better to rule by fear because people will rebel against fear at some point. You've seen dynasties taken out many a time by militia to say we're done with this bullshit. So it's not better to do that. And then Lola said, I learned if it don't benefit my brain mentally and physically health, don't do it. Exactly. Don't do it. So real leadership isn't about commanding from others. It is about influencing from the dorsolateral and ventral medial prefrontal cortex. It's where your strategic thinking, moral reasoning, and emotional regulation occur. So what that says is that when you become a real leader, your brain is going to be wired for the prefrontal cortex and all of the other aspects of it to be wired to run the show. And when you are not holding yourself personally accountable neurologically, and you are letting that little bitty teeny tiny ass amygdala run shit, you're going to mess a whole bunch of stuff up. You are going to be trying to command. You are going to be leading by fear. You are going to be creating reactivity and anxiety. So now what you could do from a summation perspective is this. When you are experiencing from a person in a position of power or authority, you are feeling fear and anxiety. They are leading from the amygdala. That's what you know. So now you can say, oh, I'm not listening to this motherfucker. They crazy as hell. They got brain fog. None of that's coming from the prefrontal cortex. And so you can now tell yourself, I'm not listening to you. I'm not following you because you're going to lead me down a dark path and knock me over my head. I'm going to wake up somewhere confused, dazed and confused. That's what you pay attention to now. So as you interact, I don't care if it's somebody at your religious organization, in your family, people that you interact with personally, when they start trying to control and make you fearful and make you have anxiety, that is not real leadership. That is fear-worship. Okay? That's what that is. And you want no parts of it because neurologically, it is not going to create new neural pathways and synaptic connections. It's going to have you sitting somewhere trying to seek comfort. But we know we handle conflict when it occurs, and it's time to be disagreeable at that point. It's time to say, nah, I'm not doing any of that. I don't agree with you, and you have a hijacked amygdala, and right now you're trying to hijack my amygdala too. So the answer is no, and in Spanish is no, in German nein, and in French is non. Okay, that's what's happening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much.